Origin Unexplained.
You ever look someone in the eyes and know instantly they're not home anymore? That's what this October episode is all about. Here are some bizarre stories from our listeners. There's a name for people who are still alive, still walking around, still talking, but something's gone. Sometimes they're called the hollow ones. Not possessed, not crazy, just empty. Like the person they used to be packed up and left. And whatever's left behind is running on instinct. A mask with breath behind it. Now, sometimes that happens slowly after trauma, heartbreak, long years of survival. But the soul doesn't always leave with a bang. Sometimes it just slips out quietly, but other times, the switch is fast, sudden. You go to sleep, one person, and wake up as someone else entirely. And there's language for that too. They call it a walk-in. It's the idea that a new consciousness, a different soul, steps into the body when the old one is done. The person still looks the same, but there's something bizarre. Their likes, their emotions, even their energy shifts. They feel unfamiliar, even to themselves. Sometimes it's not a walk-in, sometimes it's something darker, something closer to possession. Not spinning heads or levitating chairs, just a new presence, moving in uninvited. And sometimes it's subtle and still. What psychologists might call psychic fragmentation. A breakdown, a crack in the psyche, where parts of the self split and scatter, and what comes forward to run the show isn't the original. So how do you tell the difference? You don't. Not always. But the signs are there. They forget details they should know. They stare too long. They react to nothing. Or they suddenly change in ways that don't make sense until you start to wonder if something else is living in there now. Tonight, I'm going to take you through a few of these stories. Real ones, first-hand ones, not urban legends, not Reddit or creepypasta. We're going to start with a man in Tennessee whose smile didn't belong to him. Then the boy in the cornfield who came back wrong, and the musician who stopped mid-song and never played again. This is Origin Unexplained, and I am Sue. And this story is called The Hollowing. And these are the ones who stayed behind after someone else moved in. There was a woman named Marlene. She was 62 and lived alone in a cabin near the edge of the Smoky Mountains. Her husband had passed away a year earlier. Everyone in the small town said she wasn't taking it well. She was a quiet woman to begin with, but after he died, she got real still. One evening, a neighbor stopped by and brought her a casserole. She said Marlene answered the door like she'd never met her. She didn't recognize her, and that's not the strange part. The strange part is, Marlene invited her in with a big, wide smile. One she'd never worn before. The house had changed. Every photograph of her and her husband had been taken down. Their wedding picture was gone. It was replaced with an abstract painting of a face with no mouth. The neighbor asked carefully, "How are you holding up, Marlene?" And Marlene just said, "I'm not grieving anymore." She left with him. She, as if Marlene wasn't Marlene anymore. People in town said she got more vibrant after that, but not in a good way. Her voice had changed. She started wearing colors she'd never touched. She wore red lipstick. She danced in her kitchen at night with the shades open. One person swore they saw her talking to herself, but not like she was lonely. Like she was hosting. Her handwriting changed too. Curlier and neater. And the final straw. She started calling herself Isla. No one knew an Isla. She claimed it had always been her name. 6 months later, she sold the cabin and left town. No forwarding address. People still talk about how Isla came to town wearing Marlene's face and walked out wearing it better. 12-year-old Jonah went missing for nearly 5 hours. It happened during a summer cookout in Ohio. The family had a big property that backed into cornfields. Jonah was playing with his cousin, chasing a red frisbee that got caught in the wind. He ran after it, and he didn't come back. They searched the field for hours, no footprints, no broken stalks, and no noise. Then, just after sunset, Jonah walked out of the field clean as a whistle. Holding the frisbee in his hand, he said he never left. He said he was just on the other side. That's when the changes started. Jonah had been a chatty, goofy, rough and tumble boy. After the field, he spoke less, blinked less, stopped playing. He started answering questions with answers that didn't even match. When his mom asked if he was hungry, he said, "There is enough." When his dad had asked what he wanted for Christmas, he said, "I already got it, I'm here." He wouldn't sleep with the lights off anymore, not because he was scared, but because he said the dark was too loud. One night, his mom overheard him whispering something in a language she clearly did not understand. She thought he was watching something on his tablet, but it was off. They took him to a child psychologist. His IQ was fine, his memory was perfect, but emotionally, he isn't presenting like the same child. That's exactly what they said. His cousin, the one who'd thrown the frisbee, was the first to say it out loud. "That's not Jonah. That's somebody else in Jonah's body." He said it with such certainty his voice shook. The family pulled back after that. They stopped talking about it, and the cousin, now grown, still swears whatever came out of that cornfield just used Jonah's name. There was a man named Darius. He lived in Oregon, worked at a music shop, and played the upright bass like nobody's business. He played deep, soulful playing. He was known for getting lost in it, even zoning out with his eyes closed. He let the sound carry him. One day he was playing in the store for a few friends, just a simple improv. Mid-song, mid-sentence, he just stopped. He froze. His bow was in the air. His eyes were wide, and everyone said it lasted no more than 5 seconds. But when he blinked, it was like he didn't know where he was. He put the bass down slowly and said, "That's enough." Nobody thought much of it and figured he'd had a dizzy spell. But from that day on, Darius never played again. He stopped using slang, started speaking like someone from another time. Not old-timey, but just off. He asked odd questions like, what do people usually feel when they touch bark? And is grief always hot, or is it sometimes cold? His partner of 4 years said Darius didn't recognize the scent of her perfume anymore. He didn't remember inside jokes. He didn't sleep the same. He used to snore, and now, silent. One night, she confronted him and asked, "What happened to you that day?" He said, "I looked up, and something saw me, and I saw it, and then I wasn't alone." She asked what he meant. He said, "It didn't take me. I stepped back voluntarily." He packed up and left a few weeks later. He left his instruments behind. He left everything. Like the man he used to be had handed over the keys. Her name was Raina. She was 15. This happened in central Nebraska, the flatlands. Open sky, nothing but wind and wheat. She and her cousin had been walking in a trail through a long stretch of dry, golden grass. It was late September and almost October. That kind of air that smells like change. They had gotten in a small argument, just teenage stuff, and Raina walked ahead. She said she needed space. There was a bend in the trail, then a slope. Her cousin said she lost sight of her for maybe a minute, maybe 2 at the tops. When she came around the bend, Raina was standing in the grass completely still, staring out over the field. Not crying, not moving, just gone. Her cousin called her name, but Raina didn't answer. She had to grab her by the arm. That's when she turned around. Her eyes looked vacant, but focused, like she was in 2 places at once. From that day on, Raina changed. She didn't talk the same. She'd been bubbly, full of jokes and movement, and now she was calm. She moved slowly, like someone adjusting to a new body. Her handwriting changed. Her spelling got better overnight. She stopped eating sweets and stopped watching her favorite shows. She said they felt foreign. She started writing in a journal, mostly strange phrases. A lot of it didn't make sense. Her parents found one line over and over again. I arrived in the yellow. She went home through the stem. When they asked her what it meant, she said, it's just something I remember. But she wouldn't say from where. One day, she asked her mom why they were pretending she was Raina. Her mom said, because you are. Raina just smiled softly and said, not anymore. This next one's a local story. From Utica, New York. Stephen played around with things he didn't understand. His girlfriend warned him and told him to stop with the mirror rituals that he had found online. But Stephen was obsessed with proving the paranormal was real. One October, he decided to play what he called the invite. You sit alone at night in front of a mirror with no lights and you speak directly to your reflection, as if it's not you. You say, whoever's listening, I give you permission. He did it for 3 nights straight. On the 4th night, he didn't show up to work. His girlfriend said she found him sitting on the edge of the bed, unmoving at 4 a.m. The mirror from the bathroom was shattered face down on the floor. But there were no cuts, and Stephen wasn't injured. He just wouldn't speak. And he did not speak for days. When he finally talked again, he didn't recognize their cat, he forgot the neighbor's name, and he was calmer than ever. Too calm. His voice, slower and measured, like he was choosing every word, not speaking them naturally. He no longer responded to Stephen only. He avoided mirrors, and he told his girlfriend, I remember seeing myself standing behind the glass, but I wasn't moving. He was. She left him a month later, not because he was cruel, but because he wasn't there anymore. And whoever that was, they didn't blink much. They just glared. Emily was 11 when it started. Sweet kid, lived in Massachusetts. Straight A's, built doll houses with matchsticks and glue, and the kind of obsessive patience that makes people whisper gifted. Her parents said she could sit for hours building these tiny rooms, perfect in scale, right down to the paintings on the walls. Then one day during a weekend hike, she slipped and fell about 6 feet down a slope. She hit her head on a root. No blood and no broken bones, luckily. She cried a bit, but said she was okay physically. She was. But something in Emily didn't climb back up that hill that night. That night, her mother said she came downstairs to find her daughter awake at 2 a.m., sitting cross-legged in the living room, staring into the fireplace. There was no fire and no sound. She was just staring. When asked what she was doing, Emily said, listening to the room behind the wall. After that, her dollhouses changed. Gone were the days of pretty rooms and the sunlit kitchens with the lace curtains. Now she built hallways, endless little hallways, tiny rooms and tiny windows with black paper behind them. 100 doors with no handles. One had stairs that went down and down until the floor just dropped off. She wouldn't even speak to her dolls anymore. She arranged them all to face the wall. When her teacher asked why her drawings were all blacked out, she replied, sometimes people draw the parts they remember. I'm drawing the parts I lost. A psych evaluation said she was disassociating. Maybe from the fall, maybe from something deeper. When they asked Emily if she missed the old her, she shook her head and said, she was too loud. She couldn't hear the others. To this day, she's still alive, still building, and still listening. But she never came back from the woods. Whatever's been building those hallways ever since never looks up and never blinks and never answers to Emily. Well, my friends, that's the part nobody warned you about. It's not just ghosts or shadows in the hall. It's your neighbor who came back wrong after a car crash. It's your sister who stopped laughing and never started again. It's a child who forgets their favorite toy, the partner who forgets how to care. The real horror is when something else steps in quietly and doesn't give you a reason to scream. Not all hauntings are loud. Some just stare back at you from across the dinner table. Same face, same voice, but no one behind it. This is the Halloween, and these are the ones who stayed behind after someone else moved in. Thanks for listening to Origin Unexplained. I'm Sue, your host, and if you have a story that you would like told, or if you want to be on a podcast, just email us at Origin Unexplained, and that's UNX, no E, PLAINED at gmail.com.
Origin Unexplained.